Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rogers Kakasungura YouTube channel. The spirit of fighting for own rights is taking center stage even outside the Republic of Kenya. Kenyans have suffered enough, either in Kenya or outside Kenya. Like now, today I want to address our young men and women in Gulf. We have been reading disturbing stories from Gulf of young women being killed, of young women being mistreated, of young girls dying, and some getting rejected by the agents and the US Embassy. I know you too, you've been reading disturbing stories in the Republic of Kenya. And it's like Kenyans want to reform. The spirit of fighting for one's rights. We are in a dispensation where all of us read for ourselves. Moi Kibaki led a generation that didn't have smartphones. Partly, Kibaki led a generation that started receiving communication. But our forefathers didn't even know what the Constitution says because they had no access to such documents. They had no radios. It was rare. In fact, a family that had a radio at that time was a rich family. A family that had a TV at that time was a super rich family. So information could not reach them in villages. And in that time, they couldn't have or they couldn't make an informed decision because they had no knowledge at all. The generation we are in today is a generation that gets information within a second. Ruto speaks from Nairobi, within a second, I'm listening to his speech. A dispensation where all our Kenyan constitution is online. You can get it anytime, any day, anywhere in the world. If I want to know what is happening in the State House, it cannot take me 5 minutes. I just know. So this is the generation we are leading. Now, our young men and women in Saudi Arabia, they decided to call it enough is enough. And they mobilized themselves. You know, they have groups. Those young women, those men and women, they have groups where they discuss. So in large numbers, they decided to mobilize themselves and hold demonstrations outside the Kenya's embassy in Saudi Arabia. I received this video clip and I said, wow, what a revolution. If our young men and women out there can follow an example from Kenya, then I think we are raising a mature generation. Hawa watoto wamesumbuka miaka. They have died in silence. They have suffered in silence. They have been killed in silence. And they are now saying, we are not going to keep quiet anymore. Otherwise, if it's killing, we were killed long ago by being denied our rights as human beings. I want you to take a closer look. Watch that video keenly. I will come back. We proceed with the analysis.
Kenyan Embassy, mchague kama ni mtashughulikia watu kundani ama mtadili na dalala. Mchague kitu moja. Veronica Achieng amepeana nini?
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe you've watched this. Those are girls and boys who are holding demonstrations outside the Kenya's embassy in Saudi Arabia. Na wanasema, we came here to look something for our families. We came here to do odd jobs, wash toilets, do manual jobs, just to change our background back in Kenya. But you have entirely taken us for granted. We do not no longer matter to you. So today, we want to show you something. There is a saying that goes, and I found this on internet. There is a saying that goes, if a chameleon want to rescue itself from a burning bush, then it must abandon the walking style of its ancestors. You didn't get it. Chameleons are known to walk slow. Chameleons are raised to walk slow. So, if a slowly walking chameleon wants to rescue itself from a burning bush, then it must abandon the slow walking of its ancestors where it was trained and runs for it to survive. In Kenya, we have traditions, dialogue traditions. When a crisis happens, let's have dialogue, even to people who don't want to listen. There is a tendency in Kenya, young people respect the old. There is an ancestral culture in Kenya that, you know, when there's a crisis, we must look for Raila Odinga. It's a culture. It's an ancestral culture that has been there for decades. But let me tell you, as much as we follow those ancestral cultures, but as a people, as young men and women, for us to run away from a sinking Kenya so that we don't sink with it, then we only have one assignment. We must abandon the political cultures of our ancestors for us to survive. If we say we will continue that way, if we say we have a rogue president, then he calls us to dialogue, we go. That dialogue takes 3 years to release the results. Delay tactics to have them in power. The Gen Zs, the only way is to push for justice. And the only language that governments understand, it is the streets. Saudi Arabia, they have copied from Kenya, wako kwa streets. They have abandoned the cultures of their ancestors. Wako kwa streets. Hawa watoto wamesumbuka kwa miaka mingi. Wameuliwa, wameteswa. But they have decided, this time round, we want to abandon the walking styles of our ancestors and we go to the streets, demand for our justice. So, in Kenya, if we are to survive, get it from me, we have only one solution. Abandon the political ways of our ancestors for us to survive from the sinking Kenya. If we can't do that, we will all of us sing together. Na how was it? God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the next video. Asanteni sana.